Captain Elysian had traveled farther than any human before him. The starship Horizon had crossed countless light years to reach the Zitherian system, a place humans knew only from distant observations and legends of their advanced civilization. Now, standing before the massive, shining gates of the Zitherian royal port, Elias could feel a mixture of excitement and nerves tightening in his chest. Humans had never met the royal family of the Zitherians directly. Diplomacy was delicate, and mistakes could cost more than just pride that could endanger his life. As the hatch of the royal ship opened, a warm, iridescent light spilled out. The Zitherian ship was unlike any human design. Its surfaces seemed alive, flowing in patterns of light, shifting softly as though breathing. Elias marveled at the technology. Even the air carried a faint hum, not unpleasant, like a low, distant song. "Captain," called a voice behind him, smooth and melodic. Elias turned to see a Zitherian aide approaching, tall and slender with skin that shimmered faintly. Their eyes were dark and reflective, like polished gemstones, and they moved with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. "I'm Ambassador Vela," the aide said, bowing slightly. "Princess Lyra will see you shortly. Follow me." Elias nodded, trying to appear confident. He had practiced every detail of human etiquette, every diplomatic phrase, every gesture to avoid insulting alien customs. Yet, even with all preparation, there was no way to predict how a Zitherian would interpret human actions. The corridors of the royal ship were vast and luminous, stretching farther than Elias could see. Strange symbols glowed softly on the walls, responding to their presence. Every step echoed lightly, though the air seemed alive with sound, almost like soft music. Elias felt both awe and nervous tension. Humans often underestimated the importance of first impressions in alien cultures. But he had to get this right. Finally, they reached the royal chamber. The room was enormous, circular, and bathed in a soft golden light. At the center stood Princess Lyra, her form taller than any human, with an elegance that was almost impossible to describe. Her hair, or what Elias assumed was hair, flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes glimmered with a rare intensity. She did not move to greet them, only watched, her expression unreadable. Elias stepped forward, bowing politely in the human way. "Princess Lyra, I'm Captain Elysian of Earth. It is an honor to meet you." Lyra's gaze remained fixed on him. Then, in a voice that carried both authority and irritation, she said, "Human, you are here. And yet, your manners are clumsy." Elias straightened. He had expected some tension. The reports he had read described the Zitherians as highly sensitive to touch and gestures. He kept his hands carefully at his sides. "I apologize if I have offended, Princess. That was not my intention." Lyra's eyes narrowed, and she gestured lightly. "Step closer." "Human." Elias obeyed cautiously. As he moved, his elbow brushed lightly against her arm. He froze. Something in the way she stiffened made the air feel charged. "You touched me." Lyra's voice rang sharply. "Do you not know what this means?" Elias swallowed. I did not mean to, Princess. It was accidental. Please forgive me." Lyra's gaze intensified, and her posture became rigid, like a blade drawn. "Accidental?" In Zitherian culture, to touch a royal without permission is an offense that cannot be ignored. "You will not leave until this matter is addressed." Elias felt his stomach tighten. He had known the risk, but he had hoped the reports were exaggerated. Clearly, they were not. He glanced at Ambassador Vela, who inclined their head slightly, signaling that Elias was to remain. "Princess," Elias said carefully, "I promise that I respect your customs. Please tell me what I can do to correct this mistake." Lyra's eyes swept over him, as if judging his sincerity. "You will stay on this ship. You will observe and learn. And perhaps, in time, you will earn the right to leave." Elias realized that negotiations would not be simple. The Zitherians valued honor above all, and offending a royal was a serious matter. But he also noticed the curiosity flickering in Lyra's eyes, though she was angry. She did not strike him down or call for his immediate removal. That was a small but important sign. Over the following hours, Elias was escorted through the ship, under the watchful eyes of Lyra and her aides. Everywhere he looked, he saw technology that defied human imagination. The walls seemed alive, responding to thoughts and movement. The corridors twisted and curved in ways that made him dizzy at first. And yet he felt no disorientation. Zitharian ships were designed for their physiology. But somehow humans adapted quickly. As he walked, he observed the crew at work. They moved with precision, but their methods were not what humans would expect. Small tasks were solved with elegant, almost artistic solutions. Yet in one corner, Elias noticed a minor technical fault, a panel flickering with unstable energy. Without thinking, he approached and gently adjusted the controls, stabilizing the system. Lyra watched silently, her arms crossed. Elias did not notice her gaze at first. When he finally looked up, she regarded him with the faintest trace of surprise. "Human," she said, her tone sharp but curious. "You solved that problem in a way my engineers would not have considered. Explain yourself." Elias swallowed, realizing that this was the first small opening. "I just look for patterns and try solutions that seem simple but effective. It works differently sometimes than your methods, but it can be useful." Lyra's expression did not soften, but the intensity in her eyes shifted. Perhaps she had underestimated human ingenuity. Dinner was another lesson in Zitharian culture. The food was neither solid nor liquid in the way humans expected. It shimmered in the air, floating toward plates by some unseen force. Elias carefully observed the motions of the crew, mimicking gestures as best he could. Lyra watched him closely. One mistake, one misstep, and his offense might be remembered forever. Yet, through the meal, a small bridge formed. Elias asked thoughtful questions about Zitharian customs, technology, and art. Though Lyra did not answer fully at first, she could not hide the glint of interest in her eyes. Humans were unpredictable. They could survive situations others would fail in. They could think in ways even advanced civilizations might not anticipate. By the end of the evening, Elias was exhausted but still alert. He had not yet earned permission to leave, but he had survived the first day without disaster. And, more importantly, he had made the first impression that humans were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of respect even when the rules were unfamiliar. As he retired to his assigned quarters, a simple room designed for human comfort, he reflected on what had happened. Lyra's anger had not disappeared, and the danger of offending her again was real. Yet, he also sensed potential. Humans had always thrived by finding clever solutions, by connecting through empathy and courage. This situation, tense as it was, might become an opportunity to show the Zitharians what humanity could truly offer. Before sleep claimed him, Elias looked out the window at the swirling stars. The Zitharian system stretched before him, full of mystery and challenge. Somewhere in that vast expanse, he thought, humans could leave a mark not by force, but by intelligence, courage, and understanding. And somewhere in that same ship, Princess Lyra would be watching. She had not yet decided whether he was a nuisance or a potential ally. Elias knew one thing for certain. This encounter would change everything, not just for him, but for humanity. Tomorrow, he would take another step, another gesture, another conversation, another test of human ingenuity, and he would face it with the same determination that had brought humans to every corner of the stars: curiosity, courage, and the belief that they could adapt to anything, even the gaze of an alien princess, who had once called him reckless. Elias did not yet know how this encounter would end, but he was ready to learn, to survive, and perhaps to earn respect where others might have failed. The first day had ended, but the real story, the story of humans proving their worth in a galaxy that had never seen their kind, was only beginning. The next morning, the sun of the Zitharian system gleamed over the royal starship, casting shimmering light across the polished surfaces of the corridors. Captain Elias woke with a sense of purpose. Today, he thought, he had to prove that humans were not just adaptable, but capable of earning trust in even the most alien environments. As he prepared for the day, a soft knock echoed through the door of his quarters. Elias opened it to find Ambassador Vale waiting patiently. "Captain," Vale said, their voice calm yet formal, "Princess Lyra requests your presence in the observation chamber. She wishes to begin your cultural orientation." Elias nodded. "I will go immediately." The observation chamber was a vast, circular space with walls made of translucent material. Through them, he could see the swirling colors of a nearby nebula, the distant planets slowly orbiting there. Stars. At the center of the room stood Princess Lyra, her posture still as regal and commanding as ever. She did not greet him with words, only a sharp, piercing gaze that seemed to measure his intentions. "Human," Lyra began, her voice steady and firm, "you have entered my ship and committed a grave offense by touching me without permission. Today, you will learn what it means to respect Zitharian culture. You will observe, you will learn, and you will understand, or your stay may become indefinite." Elias met her gaze evenly. "I understand, Princess. I wish to learn. Please, show me what I must do." Lyra's lips curved slightly, though not into a smile. "Very well. First, observe." She waved her hand, and a group of Zitharian aides began performing a morning ritual. Their movements were precise, flowing like water, with gestures that seemed almost choreographed to invisible music. Small, glowing spheres floated around them, responding to their touch. Elias watched closely. The ritual was intricate, almost impossible to follow perfectly at first glance. Yet he noticed patterns, repetition in gestures, a rhythm to the floating spheres, the way energy moved in subtle waves. Humans excelled at pattern recognition, and Elias began to imitate the motion slowly, carefully. While keeping a safe distance, Lyra observed silently. "Not bad for a first attempt," she said finally. "Most humans would disrupt the flow entirely. You, however, adapt. That is unusual." Elias felt a small surge of pride. A single comment from the princess acknowledging his effort felt like a victory. The next lesson was in communication. Zitharians relied heavily on nonverbal cues, micro-expressions, gestures, and even subtle changes in the hum of their personal energy fields. Elias spent hours observing, repeating, and adjusting. At first, he fumbled, misunderstanding cues and causing minor disturbances in the floating spheres. Each mistake earned a sharp glance from Lyra. Yet slowly, he improved, his human adaptability beginning to shine. During a break, Elias was led to a technical wing of the ship. He noticed several panels flickering, systems slightly misaligned. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, studying the mechanisms. Using a combination of logic and intuition, he adjusted the controls, stabilizing the systems. Lyra, who had been silently observing from across the room, approached. "Human," she said, her tone a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "How do you manage to correct systems that our engineers deem perfect?" Elias shrugged modestly. "Sometimes, I just try a different perspective. What seems perfect may have small flaws that only a fresh approach can reveal." Lyra studied him, her silver hair catching the light. "Your approach is unusual, yet effective. Humans have an unexpected quality, adaptability. It is rare among species that reach advanced technology. You may survive here longer than I expected." Elias smiled politely. "I hope to survive and learn. Both are important." The day continued with lessons that challenged Elias in unexpected ways. Zitharian dining, for instance, was an experience of elegance and danger. The food floated and shifted according to mental commands, and failing to synchronize one's gestures could spill or destroy. The delicate nourishment, Elias concentrated, watching the aides carefully, learning to move his hands in harmony with the floating spheres. By the end of the meal, he had succeeded in keeping his portions intact and even earned a subtle nod from Lyra. Yet it was not just skill that mattered. Lyra tested his patience and understanding. She asked riddles that had no direct answers, scenarios designed to measure empathy, moral judgment, and creativity. Humans often thought in linear terms, but Elias learned quickly to approach problems holistically. Considering context, ethics, and consequence, "You think like a human," Lyra said at one point, her voice calm but sharp. "Yet there is value in your thinking. You see solutions we might overlook because we are bound by custom and expectation." Elias felt a thrill. This was more than mere survival, this was recognition. He realized that human ingenuity, combined with humility and empathy, could make a difference even in the most foreign cultures. By late afternoon, a minor crisis arose. A small energy conduit on the ship began fluctuating dangerously, threatening to overload. The Zitharian engineers were present, but the standard protocols were failing. Elias instinctively stepped forward, analyzing the problem, using a combination of human intuition and lessons learned from observation. He rerouted the energy flow in a simple but effective way. The threat stabilized instantly. Lyra's eyes widened slightly, the first clear sign of surprise. Human. You risked interfering without permission, she said, her voice measured. Yet, your solution worked. It saved the system. This is unexpected. Elias bowed slightly. I only acted to prevent damage. Princess, my intention was to help, not to challenge authority. Lyra remained silent for a moment, then nodded subtly. Intentions matter. Perhaps humans are more than impulsive creatures, after all. The day ended with another observation session. Elias was asked to meditate and attune to the subtle rhythms of the ship, a practice designed to harmonize mind and energy. At first, he struggled. The hum of the ship was alien, the patterns unpredictable. Yet, recalling every lesson, every observation, he began to notice the flow, the rhythm, and he adjusted. Slowly, he felt a connection, not a full understanding, but a bridge forming between human perception and Zitharian order. When the session ended, Lyra finally spoke with something resembling approval. You are persistent. Human. Most species would fail this quickly. You endure and learn. That is noteworthy. Elias felt relief and pride, but he did not relax. There was still tension, still the underlying anger from the initial offense. Yet he understood something important. Respect could be earned, even from those who initially opposed him. Humans had a strength beyond technology. They had creativity, courage, and adaptability. That combination could survive, even thrive, in alien worlds. As night fell, the royal ship glimmered against the stars. Elias returned to his quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. The princess remained cautious, and the challenges ahead would test him further. Yet he felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. Humans had always succeeded in impossible situations, and he believed that even in the alien world of the Zitharians, that spirit could shine. Elias looked out at the nebula swirling in brilliant colors. Somewhere in those distant lights, a path forward existed, not just to survive, but to prove the value of humanity. And somewhere, Princess Lyra observed him, her anger tempered slightly by curiosity and recognition. The collision of cultures was not over. It was only beginning. Elias knew one truth above all. Humans could adapt, learn, and overcome. And if they could do that here, in the court of the Starbound princess, perhaps the galaxy had underestimated them. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new lessons, and new chances to prove that humans were extraordinary. And Elias would meet them head-on, ready to show that humanity could not only survive alien worlds, it could flourish. The following morning, Captain Elias awoke to a soft chime, signaling a new day aboard the Zitharian royal ship. He had begun to understand more of their customs, their rhythms, and even the subtleties of their unspoken communication. Yet, he knew that today would bring a challenge unlike anything he had faced so far. Aides escorted him to the main chamber, a vast room filled with glowing platforms and floating energy spheres. At the center stood Princess Lyra, her posture commanding, her silver hair shimmering in the golden light. She did not speak immediately, letting her presence alone communicate authority. Human. Lyra finally said, her voice clear and unwavering, you have observed and adapted. But observation alone is not enough. You must prove your worth through action, judgment, and creativity. You will face the Zitharian test. Elias's eyes widened slightly. He had studied human diplomacy, alien cultures, and contingency protocols, but he had no idea what a Zitharian test truly entailed. The test, Lyra continued, will measure intellect, agility, and moral judgment. It is designed to show whether a being is worthy of trust and respect in Zitharian society. Fail, and your stay may be indefinite. Elias took a deep breath, steadying his mind. Humans thrived on challenges, especially those that required ingenuity. He would rely on observation, logic, and creativity. He had survived contact with the princess this far. He could survive this, The first stage began. Elias found himself standing on a floating platform, surrounded by several energy gates that pulsed in color and sound. A voice in his mind, not his own, but a projection of the ship, gave the instructions. He had to navigate through the gates in a sequence that made logical sense. But the rules changed with each step. At first, he hesitated. The gates shifted unpredictably, some disappearing as others appeared. Each choice had consequences. One wrong step could trigger a minor but shocking energy shock. Elias relied on pattern recognition, something humans were skilled at. He noticed a rhythm in the colors, a sequence that repeated if observed closely. Slowly, carefully, he moved forward, using both intuition and reasoning to select the correct path. When he reached the final gate, it shifted before him, threatening to close. Elias leaped instinctively, timing his movement with a careful calculation of speed and distance. He landed safely on the other side. A soft glow surrounded the platform, signaling success. Lyra's eyes followed his progress. Though she remained expressionless, there was a flicker of interest in her gaze. "Human," she said, "your agility is commendable. Few outsiders succeed in this stage." Elias allowed himself a small nod. "Thank you, Princess. I tried to learn quickly." The second stage tested intellect. A series of puzzles appeared before him, each more complex than the last. They were not puzzles of memory or brute logic, but of abstract reasoning and moral choice. One puzzle presented a situation where Elias had to allocate limited energy resources between sections of the ship in crisis. A wrong choice would cause failure, yet multiple solutions were possible if one balanced efficiency, fairness, and safety. Elias thought carefully. His human instincts pushed him to protect life above all else. He allocated energy to areas most critical for survival, while ensuring that secondary systems could recover without permanent damage. The puzzle responded instantly, shifting into a new configuration. He realized the system tested not only logic but ethical judgment. Lyra's voice echoed softly in the chamber. "Most species would choose efficiency alone. Humans are unusual. You consider consequence and morality. That is interesting." The third stage tested teamwork. Elias was paired with a Zitharian aide, a graceful and quiet figure named Vectra. Together, they had to repair a malfunctioning energy conduit in a simulated environment that mimicked a spacewalk in zero gravity. The conduit required precise coordination, and each movement of one person affected the other. Elias relied on human communication skills, clearly explaining his intentions and listening carefully to Vectra's instructions. Despite the differences in physiology and movement patterns, they synchronized their actions. When a sudden simulated surge threatened to destabilize the conduit, Elias remained calm, guiding both himself and Vectra through the emergency with logic and quick reflexes. The repair was completed successfully, earning a nod of approval from the observing judges. Lyra stepped forward. "Human, your ability to cooperate and adapt to alien partners is remarkable. Many species fail here because they cannot adjust to unfamiliar forms and thought processes. Humans are different." Elias felt a surge of pride. These words, though cautious, carried recognition. He was proving the worth of humans, not just his own, but the potential of his entire species. The final stage was a moral and strategic test, designed to push Elias to his limits. A simulated scenario projected the entire ship in danger of critical system failure that would threaten countless lives. He was given limited tools, time, and information, forcing him to prioritize, improvise, and take responsibility for outcomes. Elias analyzed the problem, quickly identifying the critical points of failure. He realized that the Zitharians had designed the simulation to test decision-making under pressure. With careful planning, he rerouted power manually, stabilized critical systems, and coordinated the movement of crew members to safety. It required precision, patience, and trust in both his judgment and the Zitharian aide's cooperation. When the simulation ended, the room was silent. Lyra approached, her expression unreadable at first. Then, slowly, a subtle change appeared, a flicker of respect in her eyes. "You have completed the Zitharian test," she said, her voice controlled but firm. "You have shown agility, intellect, moral judgment, and cooperation. Few humans or any species would succeed in all stages. You have survived the challenge." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Thank you, Princess. I only did what I could to adapt and learn." Lyra's silver hair shimmered in the light as she studied him. Adaptability is not just a survival skill. It is a mark of potential, of value. Humans may not follow Xitherian rules naturally, but your methods can be effective. That is noteworthy. The room seemed to breathe with approval from the observing aides. Whispers of curiosity spread, not hostile, but intrigued. Elias realized that even in a foreign culture, human ingenuity, empathy, and courage could earn respect. Lyra paused, then spoke again. "Human, your journey does not end here. You have earned my attention, and perhaps even my cautious respect. Yet understanding my culture fully will require more than a single test. You must continue to observe, learn, and prove your worth. Only then will you gain freedom of movement within my ship and trust in Xitherian society." Elias bowed slightly, his mind racing with thoughts and possibilities. He had survived one of the most difficult challenges he had ever faced, not by force or intimidation, but by using human strengths, adaptability, creativity, moral clarity, and courage. As he returned to his quarters, he reflected on what he had learned. Humans were often underestimated, even by advanced species like the Xitherians. Yet their ability to think differently, to improvise, and to act with integrity made them valuable in ways that even the most logical alien species could not always predict. He knew the path ahead would be filled with more tests, more challenges, and perhaps more misunderstandings. But he also knew that humans could thrive even in the most alien conditions, and that the respect he had earned today was only the beginning. As night fell, Elias gazed out at the stars, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy was vast, full of civilizations that might doubt humanity. But here, aboard a Xitherian royal ship, he had proven that humans could face even the most difficult challenges and succeed. Somewhere in the ship, Princess Lyra observed him. Though her anger had not disappeared entirely, it had softened into something more complex: curiosity, intrigue, and cautious admiration. Elias understood that the bridge between human and Xitherian culture was fragile, yet possible. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new lessons, and new opportunities to show that humans were extraordinary. And Captain Eliasrim was ready to meet them all, confident that human ingenuity, courage, and morality could shine even in the heart of an alien empire. The Xitherian tests had ended, but the story of humans proving their worth in a galaxy that had never truly known them was only beginning. The day began quietly aboard the Xitherian royal ship. The corridors glimmered softly with the morning light, and Captain Eliasrim could hear the hum of the ship's energy flowing like a heartbeat. After completing the Xitherian test, he expected a calmer routine. Yet, there was tension in the air. Princess Lyra had not yet fully forgiven or trusted him. She watched his every movement with a measured curiosity that made him feel both challenged and noticed. "Human," Lyra called as he entered the observation chamber. "Today you will face a real test. Not one of simulation or ritual, but a challenge that requires intelligence, courage, and cooperation. A crisis is unfolding aboard this ship, and your skills may determine its outcome." Elias's pulse quickened. He had succeeded in the tests, yet he knew that true trust required more than completing challenges. It required action when stakes were high. "I understand, Princess," he said calmly. "I am ready to help in any way I can." Lyra nodded. "Good. Follow me." They moved swiftly through the ship, reaching the engineering section. Panels flickered, and alarms blinked urgently. A major energy conduit had begun to overload, threatening to disable critical life support systems and disrupt the ship's propulsion. The problem was complex, involving multiple systems linked together in ways even human engineers might struggle to understand. "Can you fix this?" Lyra asked, her voice steady but firm. "The engineers are struggling, and time is short." Elias approached the main console, quickly scanning the readouts. "I can try," he said. I'll need to understand how your systems interact, then find a way to stabilize them. Lyra hesitated, then motioned for him to begin. She stood nearby, observing but not interfering. Elias realized that this was more than a technical challenge, it was a test of leadership, ingenuity, and calm under pressure. He quickly assessed the conduit, noticing points of strain that the Zitharian engineers had overlooked. Using a combination of observation, reasoning, and improvisation, he rerouted energy flows, stabilized failing circuits, and prevented a dangerous overload. Every adjustment required careful timing and precise coordination, and Elias worked alongside the Zitharian engineers, communicating clearly despite differences in language, thought patterns, and physiology. Hours passed, yet Elias remained focused. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he did not falter. Every human lesson he had learned: observation, adaptability, patience, and moral judgment guided his actions. Slowly, the flickering light stabilized, the alarms fell silent, and the conduit returned to normal function. Lyra stepped forward, her expression unreadable at first. Then, she gave the smallest nod, a gesture that spoke volumes. Human, you have succeeded where even experienced engineers struggled. You did not act recklessly. You observed, learned, and applied what you knew. That is impressive. Elias felt a wave of relief, but he remained humble. I only did what I thought was best to protect the ship and its crew, Princess. I could not let anyone be harmed if I could help. Lyra's gaze softened slightly. Humans value life differently than Zitharians. We prioritize efficiency and order. You balance logic with empathy. That is rare, perhaps. Humans are not as unpredictable as I believed. For the first time, a small smile touched Lyra's lips. Elias noticed it immediately. It was faint, fleeting, but it carried meaning, recognition, respect, a willingness to see him as more than an outsider. The crisis had also affected the crew. Engineers whispered in admiration. Aides glanced at Elias with curiosity rather than suspicion. And even Lyra's closest attendants began to acknowledge his presence. It was clear that human ingenuity, coupled with humility and courage, had earned their attention. Lyra led Elias to a quieter observation room after the crisis. They stood side by side, looking out at the stars. The nebula outside shimmered in brilliant colors, casting patterns of light across the floor. For a moment, silence reigned. You handled the crisis well, Lyra said softly. Your methods are unlike any I have seen. You do not follow tradition blindly, yet you respect it. You do not act recklessly, yet you take initiative. This is rare among species that reach space. Elias nodded. I try to do what is right, Princess. Even when I don't fully understand a culture or system, I observe, listen, and think before acting. That has helped me survive, and I hope it has helped others too. Lyra turned to face him fully, her silver hair glowing softly. It has. You have proven something important. Humans may be outsiders, but you are capable of understanding, adapting, and contributing in ways few species can. That is valuable. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. He had earned more than survival today. He had earned acknowledgement not just from Lyra, but from an entire culture that had once viewed humans as unpredictable and untested. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. A nearby transport pod had experienced a minor malfunction, leaving a small crew trapped inside. Without hesitation, Elias moved to assist. Lyra followed, and together they coordinated the rescue. His human intuition guided the operation, and Lyra's knowledge of the ship ensured precision. The trapped crew members were freed safely, and Lyra's expression softened further. Human, your courage and decisiveness are commendable. You did not hesitate in moments of danger. That is impressive. Elias shook his head slightly, modestly. I am not brave because I want praise. I am brave because others' safety matters more than my own. That is what humans do. We protect when we can, even when it is difficult or dangerous. Lyra regarded him silently, her eyes thoughtful. Humans have a strength that is not only physical or intellectual. It is moral. You act with consideration and care. That may explain why your species survives in ways others cannot. For the first time, a genuine smile spread across Lyra's face. Elias realized that trust had begun to form a bridge between their species. Where there had been anger, there was now cautious respect. Where there had been suspicion, there was curiosity. Humans, through their unique combination of intelligence, empathy, and adaptability, had proven themselves capable of standing alongside one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. As the day drew to a close, Elias and Lyra returned to the observation chamber. They stood together, watching the stars twinkle in the vastness of space. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "You have changed my perspective, human," she said softly. "I do not fully understand your species yet, but I see potential. You are capable of understanding and growth. That is valuable." Elias smiled. "Thank you, Princess. I hope to continue learning, and to show that humans can be trusted allies, not just visitors or intruders." Lyra nodded. "You have my attention. You have also earned a small measure of freedom aboard this ship. Your actions today prove that humans can adapt, cooperate, and think differently. That is a rare gift." Elias's heart lifted. This was more than a personal victory, it was a testament to humanity itself. Humans had survived, adapted, and thrived in situations that tested courage, intelligence, and morality. Even in the heart of an alien civilization, they could make a difference. As night fell over the starship, Elias returned to his quarters. He reflected on the events of the day, the crisis, the rescue, and the growing understanding between him and Lyra. Trust was forming, slowly but surely. And he knew that this was only the beginning. Humans had a reputation for perseverance and ingenuity. They thrived in challenges. They found solutions where others saw only obstacles. And they acted with courage and care when it mattered most. Today, all of those qualities have been tested and proven. Lyra, somewhere within the ship, watched him. Her initial anger had softened, replaced by a recognition that humans were extraordinary. They were unpredictable, yes, but also capable of brilliance, courage, and moral insight. Humans could change perspectives, bridge cultures, and even earn the respect of those who once doubted them. Elias gazed out at the nebula beyond the observation chamber. The stars stretched infinitely, a reminder of both challenge and opportunity. The galaxy was vast, full of civilizations, mysteries, and dangers. Yet humans had a strength unlike any other, the ability to adapt, understand, and rise to any challenge, and somewhere in that realization, Elias knew that his story and humanity's story was just beginning. The bridge between human and Zitharian culture had been built, one careful step at a time. Trust, understanding, and respect were forming where anger and suspicion once reigned. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new tests, and perhaps new adventures. But for now, Elias allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. He had proven that humans were capable of more than mere survival. They could thrive, inspire, and earn the admiration of even the most advanced civilizations. The mutual understanding between human and princess had begun not through force, or power, or arrogance, but through courage, intelligence, and the enduring human ability to adapt. The journey was far from over, but the foundation had been laid. Captain Eliasron had survived the Zitharian test. He had survived a real crisis. And in doing so, he had begun to show what humanity could truly accomplish, even among the stars. The morning aboard the Zitharian royal ship was alive with quiet anticipation. Captain Eliasron felt a sense of purpose unlike any he had known before. His journey had been filled with challenges, misunderstandings, and tests, each one pushing him further than he thought possible. Yet now, he sensed that the ultimate trial of trust and human ingenuity was near. Princess Lyra awaited him in the observation chamber, her expression calm, composed, and remarkably measured. The anger that had once flared so fiercely was gone, replaced by a mixture of curiosity and cautious admiration. Elias knew that this meeting could define the future of humans in Zitharian society. "Human," Lyra said, her voice even and clear, "you have proven yourself through observation, testing, and action. Your courage, intelligence, and empathy have not gone unnoticed. Yet there is one final matter to address before your freedom is fully restored. Elias nodded. I understand, Princess. I am ready for whatever is required. Lyra gestured toward a holomap of the ship. A small Zetherian convoy approaching this system has experienced unexpected mechanical failure. Their communication systems are offline, and the journey may be perilous. You will accompany my engineers to assist. Your actions will demonstrate your ability to operate not only for your own survival, but to protect others. Elias's heart quickened. This was more than a test, it was an opportunity to show that humans could act with initiative, ingenuity, and leadership in real, high-stakes situations. I will do my best, he said. The team moved swiftly to the engineering bay, where the convoy's status displays blinked urgently. The problem was complex. Multiple engines were malfunctioning, and automated systems were insufficient to correct the faults. Time was critical. Failure could result in the loss of ships and crew. Elias studied the situation, relying on every skill he had developed during his stay aboard the Zetherian ship. He observed patterns, traced energy flows, and identified points of failure that even Zetherian engineers had missed. His human ingenuity combined with calm reasoning allowed him to develop a solution quickly. Follow my instructions carefully, he said to the team, directing engineers and aides in precise movements. He rerouted energy, stabilized critical components, and coordinated manual adjustments that only a human perspective could solve. Slowly, the engines responded, the systems stabilized, and the convoy regained proper function. Princess Lyra watched intently, her silver hair shimmering in the soft light. When the final system responded correctly, she stepped forward. Human, you have done what few could accomplish. You have saved not only this ship, but the lives aboard it. Your judgment, initiative, and courage are exemplary. Elias allowed himself a small, humble smile. I only did what any human would do if they had the knowledge and opportunity. Protecting others is what we strive for. Princess, Lyra's gaze softened. You are unlike any species I have encountered. Humans think differently. They observe, adapt, and act with both intelligence and care. This combination is rare and valuable. You have proven it here, today, for the first time. Lyra extended a formal invitation, not a command, but a genuine offer of alliance. Human, you are now free to move about this ship and participate fully in our operations. You have earned my trust and the trust of those around you. Your species has shown potential that may benefit Zetherians in ways we have not yet imagined. Elias felt a surge of pride and relief. He had survived tests, navigated alien culture, and faced crises that challenged every skill he possessed. But more than that, he had demonstrated that humans were capable of contributing meaningfully in even the most advanced alien societies. As he walked through the corridors with Lyra and the crew, he noticed the subtle changes in their behavior. Aides now acknowledged him with respect. Engineers sought his perspective on technical matters. And even Lyra's closest attendants treated him as a trusted ally rather than a temporary visitor. Humans, he realized, had earned a place in this civilization not through dominance, but through ingenuity, courage, and empathy. Later, Lyra invited him to a private chamber. The room overlooked the nebula swirling in radiant colors, and the calm hum of the ship filled the air. She spoke quietly, her eyes thoughtful. Captain Eliasrin, she began, your presence here has altered perceptions. My people have begun to see humans not as unpredictable outsiders, but as beings capable of intelligence, adaptability, and moral insight. You have made your species worthy of trust in ways few could imagine. Elias bowed respectfully. I'm honored, Princess. I only acted as humans would when faced with responsibility and the opportunity to help. I hope that our future collaboration will continue to strengthen the bond between our species. Lyra nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. It will. The bridge between our civilizations is growing, thanks to your actions. You have not only proven your personal worth, but the potential of humanity as a whole. That is remarkable. The moment was quiet but significant. Elias felt the weight of responsibility and pride. Humans had often been underestimated, Yet their strength lay in their adaptability, ingenuity, and willingness to act with care and courage. These qualities had allowed them to survive and thrive in countless environments, and now they had earned respect in a civilization that few had thought possible. Soon, the preparations for departure began. Elias was given the opportunity to leave the royal ship and return to his own mission. Yet, Lyra offered something more, an invitation to continue working as a trusted ally in the Zithirian fleet. "Your presence may be needed in future endeavors," Lyra said, her voice calm and assured. "Humans have a perspective that complements ours. You may travel freely among my people, and your counsel will be valued." Elias accepted, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. Humans had not only survived an alien culture, but had proven their worth in ways that changed perceptions and forged new alliances. He realized that courage, intelligence, empathy, and adaptability were qualities that transcended species. They were the essence of what it meant to be human. As he prepared to depart, he took a moment to reflect on the journey. From the first accidental touch that sparked anger, to observing alien rituals, facing rigorous tests, and solving critical crises, every challenge had been an opportunity to show the value of humanity. Each step had reinforced one truth: humans were capable of extraordinary accomplishments, even in the face of unknown cultures and advanced civilizations. Lyra approached him one last time before his departure. "Captain Eliasrin," she said softly, "you have earned more than trust. You have earned respect, not only for yourself but for humanity. Do not underestimate the influence your species can have when guided by intelligence, courage, and empathy." Elias bowed. "Thank you, Princess Lyra. I will carry these lessons with me and ensure that humans continue to demonstrate their potential wherever they go." With that, Elias boarded his shuttle, leaving the royal ship behind. As the stars stretched infinitely around him, he looked back at the Zithirian vessel, now a symbol not only of alien sophistication, but also of human achievement. The bridge between civilizations had been built, fragile yet strong, founded on understanding, respect, and cooperation. He thought of the countless humans who had ventured into the unknown, exploring, observing, and solving problems in ways others could not. He thought of humanity's ingenuity, bravery, and adaptability, the very qualities that had carried them across the stars and now earned them respect in a distant civilization. The journey ahead was vast, full of unknown challenges and new opportunities. Yet Elias knew one certainty: humanity could thrive, inspire, and change perspectives. Even in worlds that seemed impossible to navigate, humans could learn, adapt, and lead in ways that no one had expected. As his shuttle drifted through the nebula, he felt a quiet pride. Humanity had earned a place among the stars not through dominance, but through intelligence, empathy, and courage. Princess Lyra and her people had witnessed the potential of humans firsthand, and the bridge between their worlds had been established. Elias looked ahead to the endless possibilities. The galaxy was vast, and humans had only begun to explore its potential. New alliances, discoveries, and challenges awaited. But one truth remained clear: wherever humans went, they carried the power to learn, adapt, and prove their worth in ways no civilization could ignore. And somewhere aboard the Zithirian royal ship, Princess Lyra watched the stars, knowing that humans were not just visitors, they were allies, innovators, and beings of remarkable potential. Captain Eliasrin had left a mark. Humanity had earned respect, and the story of humans proving their worth in the galaxy was only beginning.